Vicki Halsey is so dynamic. For those of you who know her from the Blanchard Companies, and she also teaches in our MS in Executive Leadership program. And we're just delighted to learn about how can we be more impactful, more brilliant, bring out the brilliance of others in our new virtual world. So Vicki, if you would please begin. And I know you've also asked me though to explain how the screen works. Should I do that now, or would you like to start and greet everybody?
Sure. Let me just say one thing, you guys, way at the top of the chat. Hi, everyone. And I love listening to you guys tell us about how you best learn. But make sure you get that Brilliance by Design handout. It's how to do brilliant presentations. It's a 2-pager front to back. And if you have a second while Bridget's explaining things, just go ahead and hit print so you have something to take a few notes with. And by the way, we put the PowerPoint in there for people that want to use this to share with your team. Feel free. Take it back. Bring it around to the whole world. So Bridget, tell them how, because we're going to be using a lot of annotation features today. So I just want to make sure you share with everybody, how do they annotate on the screen?
Yes. So if you look at the top of your screen now, I hope you see a message saying you are viewing Vicki Halsey's screen. And just to the right of that is View Options. If you click into View Options and scroll down to Annotate, and click onto that, click on Annotate, and that will open a toolbar for you. If anybody has any questions about that, please raise your hand or let me know in the chat. If anybody had trouble with that, I can walk you through that one more time. It's, you see the message, you are viewing Vicki Halsey's screen, you click View Options.
Somebody really annotated, they're giving me sunglasses, Bridget said.
Nice, I love it. I guess they're right there, Vicki. They're on it.
As long as I don't have a mustache, I'm looking good. So, oh my gosh, you guys. Well, thank you, Bridget, and thank you, everyone. I'm liking my shades, man. Those are pretty hot. It's kind of sunny here in San Diego today. Well, welcome, you guys. I really love the fact that you have dedicated this hour to really just thinking about your practice as a leader, your practice as a teacher. You know, that's a tool in your toolkit as a leader, right? That's really about, hey, am I helping others step into their power by the way I'm facilitating, the way I'm running meetings? Because as Warren Bennett says, it's like we achieve greatness by helping others achieve their greatness. By ourselves, we can do only so much. We need to influence everyone around us. So with that said, as you guys think about what we're all about for our next little time together, so what are we doing? It's about unleashing brilliance by design to engage people in these virtual meetings. So you're going to use this framework, the engage model, the brilliance learning system, and in the next hour, we're going to actually do some activities. So first thing I want you all to realize is we're going to use a lot of tools because it's about putting the active in interactive virtual strategy. So that's what our mission is today. So when you see some of these icons, we're going to be using some of those in our class today. All right, the first one, and Bridget told you how to open it up. If you look at the 5th tool over, it says stamp. Click on stamp and you can choose the star, the heart if you're feeling very loving today, the check or the X if you're feeling very matter of fact. But go ahead and first of all, think about, have you ever taught something? And then using your stamp tool, all right, on our graph here, how smart were you when you were going to, when you think about yourself after teaching? So look at this. After you teach something, you guys are brilliant. Well, that's the mission, the moral of the story. And by the way, this is just to add one new tool, maybe one, augment a tool in your toolkit as leaders. Because, this is about really thinking that the one that's doing the teaching, the talking, the processing, the doing is doing the learning. Because the question I had on the main slide, which was really about how do you best take in and process information? Well, what did you see? People said by doing, by talking about things, by answering questions. Nobody said I learned best by watching a PowerPoint, going by and not doing anything with it. So with that said, you guys, it's really important as we think about, what is our role? What are we all about as we think, whoops, oh my gosh, look at all those things. I think I better clear all your drawings. Sorry about that, everyone. But here's the shift, you guys, before we even dive into everything we're talking about today. This is just a little shift to make. What I think when we're doing these virtual meetings, or by the way, face-to-face meetings, learners, 70% of the talking, 30% of the listening. What's our role? Teachers, we spend 30% of the time on what we want to teach and 70 on how are we going to do it so we are other focused and bringing out the brilliance in others. Which, in addition, if you're running an hour meeting, 30 minutes is the content of your meeting. Maybe you're teaching a new process or a system. 70% of that hour should be your people processing. So that's what we're all about today. So the first thing I want you guys to do, and we're going to be zipping along. This is no, sit and get. This is like a whoop, whoop. Let's get this train moving. So what I want you guys to do is think about something you want to facilitate. Maybe it's a meeting. Maybe you're redesigning your, a workshop to be virtual. Think about what's one thing, and just make a note of that, because as you look on this slide, we're going to fill out your little job aid as we're going through this today. So take a minute. What do you want to take a few minutes at a time? Because we want you to do work while you're here. We don't want this just to be a freebie where you're sitting and relaxing. You really want to apply this straight away. So all right, let's see if you've got that. Everybody good to go? Just give me a second. Yep, and you guys, this is available. We're recording it. And Bridget, if it's getting recorded, and will the people who sign up get an email with it? How will that get distributed?
Yes, so I'll have the link probably later this afternoon or tomorrow morning, and I'll send it out to everybody who registered.
Perfect. Thank you. Bridget's so good. What a superstar you are, I tell you. Boom, shakalaka. Brilliant by design. All right. So with that said, let's go into, as you think about who you are, what you want to be, and how you want to show up, I want you to think for a minute, what is your hope as you lead these virtual sessions? Go ahead and type, and when you see that little sign, go ahead and type in the chat box for me. What are you hoping for? You're leading an hour meeting. You're leading maybe 3 2-hour sessions to teach a main concept. What is your hope? Go ahead and type in the chat box if you would. So go ahead and click on your chat at the top of your screen. All right, you want collaboration, engagement and understanding. Yeah, you want an interested audience, people staying with you. Exactly. Enriching their perspective. Ooh, that they can apply, Annette, woot, woot, and that they're excited. They're excited to be there. All right, love that. So as you think of, that's what your mission is, what do you think? Let's go for just a second. Go into the minds of someone that says, oh, I have a meeting from 1 to 2 with, let's say you, Annette. I have a meeting from 1 to 2. What are they subliminally and maybe overtly, what are they hoping for? What do you think? I mean, because we know what they expect for the most part. It's another meeting. I can do my email. I can jump on my exercycle and just, work out while I'm in the meeting. Janice, exactly. I hope it's not boring and I get something out of it. Ooh, efficiency. That I was energized, I was engaged, and I actually, I really feel like I learned something that's going to help me in my life. Because you guys, virtual is the new norm. It's truly what we're doing here, with our people. Now, in the chat, what is your #1 challenge to help people achieve their hopes? What's the #1 challenge that you have? Let's see what you think in the chat box. And I love Carla. I want to move that learning to action. All right, so there's a challenge understanding what's going on in their world. All right, there's a challenge of making it stick. Do people see the relevance to the business? Are they staying engaged? How do I get people to chat? Get people on the same page. Yeah, so that is exactly what, as we think about what's going on with people, we got to know them. we have to the number one answer, by the way, is multitasking. That's what people feel is the number one fear. Because you guys, how long do you listen if you're not chatting or you're not clicking on the screen? How long do you listen before you start multitasking? Go ahead, give us a thought in the chat. How long do you actually listen to a speaker if you're not, Rochelle, 5 seconds? That's even less than the real answer is about 2 or 3 minutes. That's why we want interactivity every 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, so here we go, you guys. Let's get into some of our content here. So what do we see? We see as we go into this, face-to-face students, we see them. Like if we're running a meeting, we know that they're there. We only hear silence. What happens in face-to-face is you ask a question and one hand goes up. But in virtual, the opportunity for you is everybody can write an answer. You don't know if people are losing interest, but you can see them picking up their phone and starting to look at things if you're face-to-face. And by the way, people don't really know exactly what to expect in virtual, but if they walk in a meeting, they know what to expect. There's a flip chart and things like that. So you really have to shift your focus as a virtual facilitator and a virtual teacher. You've got to know your technology, know your audience, know your contents, because it's really our mission is to set people up for success. So back to your chat. When you think about where you stay with the program for your meetings, for your trainings, what really helps you stay engaged? What are some of the things that a virtual facilitator, teacher, leader have done for you to help you stay? Kellen, hands-on. So giving them like a worksheet or something like that. Excitement, intrigue, good question, breakout rooms, polls. You know, you guys, that is exactly it. So using your stamp again, which of these things, and I put a lot of stuff, you guys, in this PowerPoint. Normally you wouldn't have these busy PowerPoints, but because I gave you the PowerPoint, I wanted to kind of make it like a workbook so you had this to go back and use. What do you like the most? Let's see some, yeah, look what people are liking, you guys. This is face validity for you. They want to chat. They want breakout rooms. You know, they want to apply the content. And you constantly reminding them of the relevance of what they're learning. Exactly. Beautiful. So look what people are saying. I want a real work scenario. So if you're teaching something, make a scenario. How are you going to use this model in a scenario? Beautiful. So you guys, and I love what you're saying, you know, as people get moving and grooving. So with that said, you guys, as you think about this, we're trying to move from, I'm clearing the drawings, moving from this to this. Woohoo! Someone's involved. All right, they're ready to rumble. And how do we do that? You've got a new model that you get to use. It literally is the Brilliance Learning System. You know, people focus when they're the focus. And the mindset underlying this model is, it's not, you know, how people, you know, it's like, how am I helping people be smart in the way they are smart? All right. Oh, Marcella, the way you put those on is, Bridget, would you share one more time for anybody that missed your fabulous mini teach on how they can get those stamps and hearts and things? Because it is very fun to check right on the screen.
It is. So as you're looking at your screen, you'll see at the top, it will tell you you are viewing Vicki Halsey's screen. And just to the right of that, it says View Options. If you click into that, it gives you a drop down. Go to the word Annotate. And if you click on that, you'll get a toolbar. So what people have been using is, if you click on the word stamp, you can choose
5 little tools over.
Yeah, and you can choose your mark, a heart, a check, or whatever, and then bring your cursor down to the screen, to Vicki's slide, and then that way you can add your mark.
Yay! All right. So with that said, you guys, remember, and this is like, I just wanted to give you a little like infrastructure about bringing out brilliance. I mean, just take a second and think about someone who just brings the brilliance out in you. You feel like when you walk in a room, pick up the phone, get an email, all of a sudden you're doing your best thinking. So that's what Brilliance by Design is. What do they do to help you do your best thinking? Because you guys, as we think of brilliance, it's not just randomly. It's a trajectory. Someone has designed interactive learning experiences with a slow build to where you're like, wow, I really learned something new. They encouraged me. I love it. They inspired me. They acknowledged that, wow, I have a lot to offer. But they were continually building on the construct they're trying to help you learn and apply. All right, so here we go. We're going to go into Brilliance by Design, and how do you help bring out the brilliance? So the first aspect is people. So I have a little arrow pointing to your worksheet that you guys hopefully printed. That's at the very top of the chat box. Thinking about the people you're going to teach. What do you know about them? What are they hoping for? I use this example of David Burke because he was one of my MBA students in the past. And what's so amazing about him at graduation, he was like, because people were talking about where did they learn the most and all this. He's like, I learned the most in Vicki Halsey's class, but let me tell you why. He took this learning preference assessment, because it's in the book. It's part of what I teach. And what he said was, wow, I found out I'm a kinesthetic verbal learner. And he's like, just think where I'd be in my life if I hadn't been told to sit down and shut up my whole life. Because he wants to get up. As you look at that slide, he wants to be doing stuff. That's how he best learns. So you guys think about the people you teach. Notice that there's a lot of different ways people come to the party. And this is at learningstyles.net. It's just a little $5, and it's so cheap, but it gives you 28 different learning preferences. Time of day, are you auditory, verbal? That's a fun one. Auditory verbal means I like to hear my own voice. So you can see I like that. But anyhow, but it's really about that's how I best learn and take in and process. As a leader, your mission is, how can I vary the way I'm instructing so that everybody feels like their voice was heard? They actually can take in information. Yeah, it validates you in the way you best take in information. Because give me a thought in the chat. In school, what kind of intelligence do people have to have for people? What kind of learner does someone have to be typically to do really well in school? What's the dominant way of teaching? What do you think in the chat box? Yeah, auditory. Exactly. Can you listen without slides, without information, without being able to jot notes down? Now, you guys, I've been teaching. How many cohorts do we have now in MSEL, Bridget?
We are up to 20, starting 21.
21. You guys, in 21 cohorts, taking that learning preference assessment, what percent of all those fabulous executive leaders came out strong auditory processors? What percent? What do you think? Take a guess. Oh, there was a few. It's between you two. There you go, Casey, 4%. Think about that when you're teaching. People learn by talking, by doing, by putting checks on the screen. So I've given you a variety of ways that people best take in and process information. So if you would think about this in your virtual environment, all right, so think about what's going on in virtual that you need to concern yourself with. Now, in the case of you running a meeting, you want to make names, put a list, a checklist of people who's at your meeting. First of all, you guys, you want to make sure the audio works. So you check in. Hey, Zach. Hey, Annette. Can you say hi? And you put a check on your list. But then let's say you're running an hour meeting, you put another check every time. Let's say Sue participates, great. Stephen participates, great. You put another little check right on your list. But you want to make sure, by the way, that everybody gets to participate. Because as you look at the last bullet here, it's because you want to build a community of learners. So if Carla says something super interesting right at the beginning, write that down, because it might apply to something later. Bring it back, because that's where you build your continuity with people. All right. Now, with that said, look at bullet 4. Just want to make sure you guys know that. I'm being pretty explicit about put a check on your screen, raise your hand, text on the slide, whatever it is you want someone to do, that's what you want to utilize in your virtual presentation. The other thing is the second to last bullet. So if I opened up the chat box, and said, let's see, who said, yeah, there you go. So if someone said something, and I might say, so Bridget, when you say that you learn best by participating, tell me more about, unmute your phone and tell me more. Do you see what you want to do? You want to be very explicit, because what I notice when I'm teaching people how to train virtually is they just go, so you guys tell me what you think about this. And people are like, well, am I supposed to chat? Am I supposed to raise my hand? Am I supposed to say it on the phone? Then people are talking over each other. So just keep that in mind. I like to have them chat first and then augment what they've said in the chat to go ahead and really bring it home. All right. So with that said, as we go into this, you've just taken some notes on your form, your brilliant presentations. Here's your next shift. So first thing is, oh, by the way, the other person in your virtual equation is you. So let's do a quick, before we go past that into content, in the chat box, everyone, take a deep breath. Release that breath, and I want you to type in the chat box after you've thought for a second, what is one thing you could do to take better care of you? Because you are the foundation of unleashing the brilliance. It orbits around you. Okay, so what Sloan and Chris are saying, I want to do a little more sleep, a little more exercise, a little more time for reflection. Remember what, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but Margie Blanchard says, a goal without a deadline's a dream. So if you guys who just said you gave yourself kind of a nice global, I'm going to do this, narrow it down. Write a SMART goal. Benton, when are you going to surf? When are you going to meditate? You guys go ahead and change your global response to I will blank by when. Go ahead, I will blank by when. Put an absolute deadline. Let's see, go ahead. When do you want to do what? That is one of the secrets to success. There you go. Oh, Benton, I will surf Saturday, not the internet. I love that. There you go, I'll be in bed by 10. And then that gives you an absolute stake in the ground. You guys, the interesting thing about right now with people, their brain is so diffused, just like yours. We have to be, and I'm calling it extreme prioritization. Extreme prioritization. Are you prioritizing what's important to you? And as leaders, helping others do the same. Love that. So make sure you guys write a little note what you typed in the chat box, because that's what's going to help you act on your best intentions. Keep that in mind as you lead others. Help them put by whens on their goal and make them a little more specific. So now we've talked. We've really typed in. You've checked on the screen. What do you want people to, what do you want to know about them? The learning preferences, etc. Now, on your brilliant presentation form, let's go into kind of the content, because content, you guys, has to do with, I think sometimes when we think I got to run a meeting, here's everything I want to share. Here's everything I want to have them know. I'd like you to flip that around. First thing is, what do I want them to do differently as a result of investing their time in this meeting, in this training? So reflect on your, worksheet. If they hung up the phone or they, logged out of the meeting, what do you actually want them to do differently from being with you that time? What is it that you want to have happen that they can walk away and do? Because that's what we're going to spend the rest of our time with, you guys sharing your great ideas and me giving you a little model. Because it starts with, what do I want them to do to be more successful in their role, in their life, etc. Then you backload it to, what do they need to learn to be able to do that? What do I want them to do? So just take a minute on your form and think about that. That's a little different way of looking at what I'm sharing with them. I want them to access this information. Okay, great. Teach them how to access it, and then spend 70% of the time asking questions about something that they have to access it, and have them actually go into breakout rooms and do what you need them to do. All right, so you've got that. Doing to learning. All right, so now what I'd like to do before we dive into the design, Bridget, you're going to go ahead, I guess, and unmute everyone's phone so people can raise their hand, and you could call on people that have questions. Any questions from this point, from what we've talked about? Let's have a few minutes of Q&A, or type your question in the chat box.
Yeah, so if you want to raise your hand, I can call on you. If you know how to do that, by going into participant and then pick raise your hand. I could unmute all, but then we'll have people
okay. Just
talking over. Okay. So please raise your hand.
They're enjoying stamping the screen there, I think, much more than raising their hand. Well, good. I'm happy to go right in, because we're going to let you guys do an activity in just a second. Bridget, did we see any hand raises?
No, not getting. You can also put your question in the chat if you like.
Beautiful. Yes. How did Bridget get so fit? Is that a question? Oh, no, that was just me wondering. Hey, by the way, you guys who are doing meetings, what are these? Yeah, baby. You got to have your weights by your computer. Oh, yeah, that's what's going to keep you. Oh, sorry. That little bird walk. Okay, that was a brain break. Everyone stand up. Stand up. Here we go. I'm not going to stand up, because then you'll see, there we go. Stand up. Woot, woot. Do a stretch to the left, stretch to the right, stretch to the ceiling. Woot, 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 woot. All right, you're back in your body. Now that I know who I'm teaching, what I really want to achieve, let's think about how, when I'm running a virtual meeting, how do I get them to be able to do what it is that was my vision to help them be more successful at what, they want to do? Because that's what this is all about. So this is the Engage model, and you see it on your little worksheet, ENGAGE. I gave you a boatload of examples of how to do each one. I'm going to give you a concrete example, and then we're going to dive into each of these and have you share your brilliant ideas. So one of my favorite...
Vicki, before you jump in, I'm so sorry. I did just notice that there was a question in the chat. How do you consider individual learning preferences in a group webinar?
Oh, brilliant. Yes. What we want to make sure we do is vary the learning preference. So you want to use a variety of those things that I had on the slide for visual, auditory, kinesthetic, tactual. So you keep the variety so everybody can learn in the way they are smart. So it's like, instead of it, and by the way, remember what you guys said at the beginning. Nobody wrote, when I said, how do you best take in and process information? That I just sit there like glazed over watching a PowerPoint go by with someone talking. No, I want to sit on the edge of my seat. I want to have handouts. Every one of those things, as you design your course, go back to that chart in the PowerPoint and say, have I addressed different learning preferences? Okay, so that's really important. Thank you for asking. Okay, concrete example. What is this Engage model, and how can you use it in one of your hour meetings? So, or designing a training. First of all, I'm going to give you just a really fun example. One of my favorite people, CEO of huge mattress company. I'm not going to go into the name, but he was like, so we're not getting very good results from the guys delivering the mattresses. I'm going to bring them together, about 100 people, for an hour, and I want to use the Engage model. So E, that's energize learners. That's the first thing we want to do before they even show up to whatever you're talking about. Have you primed the pump? Have you helped them know what is this meeting? Give them a chance to do their best thinking. Because if you looked back at that learning preference, one of the continuums is impulsive or reflective. Realize about 50% of the population are reflective like me, lying, are impulsive like me, but the other 50% are reflective. They want to do some time to do their best thinking. So you send something out ahead of time to help them really think, what is it that this meeting's about, and what do I think? How can I bring my best ideas? So bottom line is, Dale sent out a Hot Wheels truck with $100,000 Monopoly money, and he said something to the effect of, people think that it's the first impression that's most important with customers, but it's actually the last impression that stays with them the longest. And he said, you are the last impression for our customers, whether we make a customer for life or not. Bring at least 3 ideas for how you wow the customer when you deliver the mattress. Okay, beautiful. So now they've gotten a little something fun in the mail, and they're kind of like, wow, this could be kind of fun. Come to the meeting, lunch will be served, etc. Then N stands for navigate content. So that's where you teach, review, and it's literally where you're kind of sharing your model and making sure they know it, or your recommendations, or whatever you're trying to impart, you're sharing that and reviewing it that they know it. So how did Dale do that? Literally, these people walked in, there were flip charts all over the room, and he had them go right to the flip chart, write down all their best ideas. They sat down. Now remember, this is within the first few seconds of arriving. In the chat box, what do people typically do for the first 10 minutes of a meeting? What goes on typically first 10 minutes? Let's see what you think. Versus like, I'm up writing out a flip chart, my best ideas. Yes, chit chat. People are just talking to each other. He literally had them, boom. And look what they were still connecting, Sloan, because they're talking with other people and engaged. But it's literally moving. It's the best use of time. It's moving. What is the focus of this meeting? Yeah, and Emily, I love that. They're just trying to figure out what they're doing there. Why am I even here? So I love it. So here's what he did for Navigate. Boom, he had them for 5 minutes. You write every one of your best ideas. Come sit down. I'm going to talk to you for just a minute about a new model I have for wowing the customer. So he taught his model, and all I remember was it was like the NICE model, and it started with N, which was something like notice something personal about the customer. Woo, look at that plant. Oh, what an amazing deck you have. Oh, is that a something or other dog? What a nice watch you have. Something personal that links you to them. But he taught this model. Then he gave a few examples and said, if you said that, what would it be? Then they went zipping back to their flip chart and labeled it. So now he's taught, reviewed, taught, reviewed. Then he went to G. They came back together. Now, you guys, he's only 20 minutes into his session, and they've already really been doing a lot of stuff. G stands for learning. So information's coming into the train station, and it decides, should I go to short-term memory, or is this important to remember? Imagine all the stuff in people's brains right now. Oh my gosh. Really, really important that we have them anchor why what they're learning might help them, help the team, or help the organization. It is tapping into a different part of the brain that says, hey, this is actually pretty good stuff. You want to ask versus tell if possible. What's in it for you to move this NICE model to action? We'd get more customers. People would like us. They did look forward to seeing us coming. Then what did he do for the bulk of the rest of the time? apply to the real world. Hey, you guys, very often people end at N. Bye-bye, good to see everyone. You learned this and see you later. Well, you're going to do G and then A. He got them in teams of 4. Went out to the warehouse. 2 people pretended they were the homeowners. 2 were delivering the mattresses, and they practiced their skills right then and literally applied the NICE model immediately. So when you teach, you're going to think about that. How do I get them to sort of do exactly what I want them to do immediately? Then he came back, G is Gauge and Celebrate, had a fun Jeopardy game, gave them prizes for people who won, etc. And he gave them all lunch as a special treat for all their brilliance and because he said he was being nice. So with that said, the last thing is extend learning to action. So instead of just saying, all right, we're done, bye-bye, everyone, he said, okay, how are we going to keep this alive? He goes, I'm starting a new little newsletter just for you guys. Anytime you send me a success story, I'm going to send you a little gift card. I'm going to spotlight you. If you can take a picture of people with their mattresses, woo, looking all excited, I'll put that in the newsletter. And maybe we can use some of these amazing stories for marketing, etc. You know, I'd like you to think about this in the chat for a minute. A typical 1-hour meeting, when you're basically telling people, you know what, you're not getting very good ratings. You better get back out there and do it better. That's meeting 1. How do they feel differently walking out of this meeting? What's different about this than getting people together and just telling them, you're not doing well, let's get it done, people, come on. What's the difference? How did people walk out of that hour meeting? Yeah, I'm empowered. I'm encouraged. Part of the solution, I'm important. Appreciated. And by the way, I learned something. So I'm pretty excited. All right, well, here we go, people. What I'm going to do is I want you all to think about each one of you based on the letter of your name, okay? You get a different chunk of the Engage model. So if you look at your job aid, you're going to look at the top part of that job aid as you see with all the examples. And here's what we're going to have you do. If your name starts from A to D, I'd like you, let's have you guys go first. So as you think about this, Aminta and Annette, you guys and Cutler, I'd like you in the chat to go ahead and share what has someone done for you in the past that's really gotten you energized before you show up to a meeting to help you do your best thinking. Go ahead and type in the chat box, or if you would, raise your hand and Bridget will call on you. Just give us a quick thought of something someone's done to get you. Oh, I love it. Annette, thank you. And Bridget, can you unmute Annette? And Annette, tell us something someone's done to energize you before a meeting or before a training.
Last November, somebody sent me a beach ball welcoming me to a workshop 1 week before it happened.
Wow. And what did that do for you? Just in general.
The mail person was waving me down the block saying, wait, I got to bring you this letter. You're not going to believe it.
I love it. So you guys, look what you said in the chat. I want to be energized. I want to be excited. The brain, you guys, this is neuroscience. The brain likes novelty. So Annette's like, I can't believe it. So, I mean, who sends a beach ball? You know, but there's a great thing that happens when there's something novel. All right, let's see if someone else has an idea. Any other thoughts in the chat? Something that someone's done. Ah, look at that. Look in your chat, you guys. A little coffee mug with a saying on it, some kind of, bring your best ideas about the meeting topic. What does that take? That takes knowing what the meeting topic is. That's the 70% for you guys of planning how you're going to unleash brilliance by design. Beautiful. And as you think about this, you guys, your mission is to help them take on a new behavior. Just imagine that you guys, how many times you've thought, I'm going to change my behavior to something new. In the chat box, how long does that last? I'm going to eat more vegetables. I'm going to work out every day. How long does that last when you set those great intentions? Let's see in the chat. A day. That's what we're talking about. We need to really build to the learning, so we embed a new practice. So people, I love it, not long. So people really get the gift of learning and that they can do something differently. All right, so with that said, as we think about energizing, it's getting them on fire. They show up with this lovely smiling face. And here are just a few ideas. You can send a book. You can say an impact map, you guys, is literally like, here's what you're going to learn. Here's what the impact will be. And then at the end, you say, what will you do with this? So it's kind of sharing with them up front the impact of what they're going to learn. You can send a game, a puzzle, a survey, solve the puzzle of listening, something interesting, an article, podcast, or just a powerful question. It doesn't have to be a dissertation, but what it does is blast them out of all the busyness and helps them focus. I love that. All right, and Zachary, when we get to that Z, you keep that in mind, all right? I want you to bring that up. Okay, what's our second thing we're going to do? We're going to navigate content. This is teach, review, so they actually know what it is you're talking about. So when you think about this, let's see, this was our E through H, opportunity knocks. Let's see your best ideas. How did someone actually, and anyone can contribute, by the way, what's something someone did where you really walked away and went, I know how to do something different to help me do what I want to do in my role. So think about that, you guys. What is some of the best ways someone taught you information? Go ahead, raise your hand. Anybody with a name or anybody that wants to share. You really learned, like the DISC model or something. How did you get taught something to where it anchored it so well that you knew the actual model? Great. And Casey, do you mind unmuting your phone and sharing us, what did someone do to help you do what it was you needed to do? And Bridget, go ahead and unmute Casey if you would.
Well, I could think of lots of examples, but it's certainly when you can sit down and apply what you have talked about and actually do it while learning it. That just always for me is the most, the best way to learn it.
Yeah, I love that. And Bonnie, that's great, Casey, because Bonnie, link by teaching those concepts to someone else. Bonnie, unmute Bonnie if you would. Bridget, Bonnie, tell us what happens when, someone says, okay, you need to turn to a partner and teach them. Let's say it was the NICE model. Teach them what the NICE model is. What does teaching do for your neural network and for the retention of great information?
Bonnie, I think you can unmute yourself.
Yes, I did unmute myself.
Okay, great.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Well, you pay more attention because you've got to teach someone else, and you take all your notes because I have to write things down. I can't just hear it. And just by teaching someone else, you learn it more yourself. It solidifies the concepts in your brain.
Ooh, it solidifies the concepts in your brain.
Yeah,
because you have all sorts of things that I don't have in my brain. Everybody's different in terms of their experience, their knowledge, their beliefs. We're targeting all those. When they hear it in their own voice, you guys, you really get the gift of them integrating it into their practice. So thank you, Bonnie. That's awesome. Now, when you guys think about navigating content, as you notice in some of the slides I have here, you start simple, you get more complex. You really need some kind of job aid for them to know, like let's say it was the NICE model or the DISC model, or the SL2 model. You guys, a lot of you have learned that. It's have some kind of, what is a D1 to D4? So they can look at it. What is a style 1 to a style 4 if I'm matching my leadership style to someone where they're at? So you give them a job aid. But sometimes people say, well, how do I take content that I had face-to-face and make it virtual? Well, first thing you want to do is just shift some of the things. So I put these here, like if you used to say, okay, talk with a partner, talk at your table. boom, go ahead and tell them to chat and tap their thoughts in the chat box. If you say get up to a flip chart, you say go in a breakout room and use a whiteboard. Bring the whiteboard back. Find a partner and share. Privately chat your partner. Multiple choice can be a poll. Series of questions on paper can be checked using that stamp tool. Check right on the screen. Instead of doing the case study at your table, you go into either a breakout or you do your case study there. Now, we just talked, the question that you asked earlier was, how do I tap into the way everybody learns? Well, realize every time you change an activity, you change modality, you're really myelinating. You're releasing a chemical in the brain that's cementing what you've just taught so people can access it later. So remember, it's less of a what do I want to share? And like Bonnie said, it is more about, and Casey, what you said, it's more about what can they use? What then can they remember? Now, before they even choose to do it, to move it to action, Casey, they've got to know, why would I want to use this stuff? Is this for me right now, where I'm at in my life? Is it absolutely helping me be successful? So the goal there is, if I were generating meaning for why use the engage model, well, what percent of your people are peak performers? Give me a thought in the chat. Why would we want to use this engage model? Oh, well, what percent are superstars on your teams? Let's see what you guys think. If you had to just take a little guess, what percent would you say of all the team or the people around you are absolutely superstars? Nobody wants to own up. There you go. 10, 20, 30%. Well, you guys, the mission, what if 70% could be brilliant? That's the goal, because a very small percentage learn in the way we typically teach, but more people can be brilliant with more variety. So that's what's really about generating meaning. Now, apply to the real world. Who's our apply to the real world folks? Let's see. M through P. What are your great ideas for how to help people apply? What's an example where you learned something, but before someone just said, now go apply it on your own? Raise your hand, anyone from A to Z. Share with us a time someone really helped you apply your learning. What's an example of that? Yeah, Rochelle, would you share just what that means there? What does that do for you if you have to use the learning on a real work problem?
For me, Vicki, is if I have a problem to solve right now and the learning that you are sharing with me today, I can apply to my training session tomorrow, is impactful. It embeds in my processes, and it's more meaningful for me.
And you guys, the trick between linking, love that. Thank you so much, because it's linking that meaning of it, giving them the space to do it while they're still with you, the teacher, instead of saying, go apply it. Two things happen there. The gift for you is you learn, did I teach it well? Because if no one can apply it, you're like, well, obviously I didn't do a very good job of helping you know what to do. But the other thing is it gives them meaning, and by the way, accelerates their retention of that information. Love that, Rochelle. Thank you so much. All right, so with that said, look at you guys. You are zipping through the model in terms of the slow build. To have I help someone be successful at what they need to do with what I'm giving them. So there's a lot of variety that you can use. Now, what have been some examples for you of great ways that people have and this is, again, it's before they leave, before they walk away, myelinating the axon by giving some kind of quiz, a Jeopardy game, a little quick review, get up at a flip chart and do a group mind map. In this case, virtually, it would be go in a breakout room and create. You could have them create a metaphor for what they just learned. You could have them Oh, by the way, the last group that I did that with this class was they drew a picture of someone pushing a snowball, and you watched how they didn't know anything, and it moved to really knowing a lot. So that was kind of a cool metaphor, but just having people use a variety of senses to review again. In the chat or raise your hand, something someone's done to help you know and learn what, and just celebrate. Look what I took away from this call. What's one way someone's done that with you in practice? Because then we're going to practice right now. We're going to gauge and celebrate, because I know you guys don't want to hang up without gauging and celebrating. All right, it looks like we have to gauge and celebrate in just a second because I'm running out of time just a little bit, but I'm coming on strong, you guys. All right, realize, just like Dale with his mattress delivery guys, you want to keep it alive. Lunch and learns, newsletters, success stories, email campaign. Have people send you how they've used it, because what that's going to do is help the early adopters feel really successful. You're going to endorse, look at you, you used what we learned. Thank you so much. So with that said, that should be a continuous process. Use that worksheet that I gave you in the very top of the chat. Design your whole flow. Now remember, if you're teaching something new and you have weekly team meetings, maybe give an assignment to someone. Hey, Carla, could you take the first 5 minutes and share how you've used this part of the model? And then, Delinda, could you take the second part next week? As leaders, we have the right to keep things top of mind with our people. And it's what's going to keep this model alive and keep their learning alive and help you keep driving the changes you need to have happen. Okay, in the chat, this is quick. How often should you have interactivity? We want to celebrate. Let's see what you think. Da, 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 da. How often? There you go, 2 to 3 minutes. Now, what do you have to have with your instructions on how to help people communicate? Extreme clarity, winner. Look, my numbers are messed up, but whatever. You win some, you lose some. Number 1 again, what is the G stand for? What are you trying to do to move information to long-term memory? You have to generate meaning. Do you think virtual learning and virtual teaching takes more or less energy? Yeah, it takes more. You're checking the chat, you're clicking on the screen. Now, you want learners to what early on? What did I say about the audio and checking in with them? Yes, engage straight away. Talk, get them going so they think it's not a sit and get. I get to just relax and do my email. It really is about getting involved. Number 4, again, we're sort of past that. But anyway, start with low, and I'll tell you the answer to this, by the way, low risk questions. Where are you calling in from? That's not going to scare someone that's not really been participating. What movies have you seen? What's going on in your world? Beautiful. Here we go. What did we say about this? Multiple what stimulate the brain? Multiple what stimulate the brain? Keeps them going. That's a little trickier. Yes, multiple senses, questions, interactions, multiple learning modalities. So smart. Okay, now, one of the things I do notice when I'm training trainers that are new to this is there's a lot of repeating the question because you don't see people nodding. So I believe you should put a picture of your audience sometimes if you're brand new to this so that you see their faces. And another tip of that, if you're having them do something, I always do it too, because then I know about how long it's taking them. And you say, give me a green check or something like that when you're done. Listen to their voices, listen to their thoughts. But what about number 8? Get to the point. What have we done today? We've been on hyperdrive. Get to the point, Jennifer, you got it. Quickly. Boom shakalaka. Don't give them time to check in with their email or feed their bird, Be comfortable with what while people are working, etc. Yes, Carla, silence. What are you building with your team? When you showcase their ideas, you kept that checklist and you wrote down their brilliant ideas, you're building trust, you're building community, and you're building confidence. So you guys, I didn't want you to just celebrate once, but just know, quickly review. The first E is you want to energize people. Ooh, who remembers this one? When you navigate content, what are you myelinating? Oh, you're myelinating. I just said it. Generate meaning, move things into long term, create an actual experience, helps people to what they're learning. Look how smart you are. Apply their learning. You guys, you've only had an hour. You've learned the whole Brilliance learning system. What are we doing now? We are deepening neural connections as you, what was that last G? What was it? Gauge and celebrate. Extending the learning doubles retention. Woot, woot, true. Because Ken, our favorite person, says, the important thing when we're teachers and we're teaching people, it's not what happens right there in the moment. It's what happens when we're not there. So with that said, in the chat box, what is one thing you took away? I will, or I learned, or I was surprised at. What is that one thing that you want to move to action or that you took away? Let's see some of your great concluding thoughts. All you people who are brilliant by design. Generating that meaning so people know. Getting them engaged with the technology. Chris, I love it. Your energy is what fuels the energy of your people. Good. All those ways for interactivity are all embedded in this PowerPoint. Love that. Celebrate the wins and engage early. Woot, woot. Well, you guys, what a gift it is for this time with you. Don't tell, teach. Teach means I'm doing everything you just said. So thank you, thank you, thank you for a wonderful time today. Any questions you have, type them in the chat box, and I'm going to stay on with you for anyone that has any great questions or any thoughts. So Bridget, back to you.
Thank you so much, Vicki. I learned so much too. I was never aware of that annotate toolbar. It made it so much more engaging to be able to check, where we identified. So thank you so much. I wanted to let everybody know that I will be sending out this recording. So you will have access to this. And for the students that attended, please send me your student ID number and I'll be sure you get credit for attending today. Thank you, Vicki, for staying on a little longer. So for whoever can stay on, we'll keep this Zoom session going.
I love that people are liking all the, there we go. I love it. You guys, thank you. Pete, hey, I just, seeing your name rocks my world. Look at all you guys. I couldn't love you more. So cool. Thank you, everyone.